we focus on the fact that you can continue to work your job. You can continue to earn at your levels. All you got to do is put a little bit into Bitcoin each week, each month, and over time, things will get better, I promise. The one thing that you can change as a Bitcoin dad is your money.
Hello, welcome again to another episode on the Let People Prosper Show. My name is Dr. Vance Ginn. I hope you're having a prosperous day. Well, you know, if you ever felt like building wealth in today's system is like lifting stones in a storm, you're not alone. And my guest today is showing people how to do it smarter, stronger, and with more purpose. I'm joined by Stewart Arthur Pelto, host of Sat Chats, a bold, values-driven Bitcoin podcast that's quickly becoming the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center. Welcome to the show, Stewart. It's really a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Vance. Let's just let the people know. Let's get that generational wealth.
That's
Come on,
right.
y'all.
That's right. We got to keep it going. I love your positive attitude. And so let's make sure to keep that going throughout this discussion. Before we get into all that, though, let me go ahead and read your bio for the audience, and then we'll jump right into it. So Stewart is the creator and host of Sat Chats, a podcast that's become a gateway from Bitcoin for everyday people seeking generational wealth and financial sovereignty. Before going full-time with Sat Chats in 2025, Stewart worked in political campaign strategy, copywriting, tech sales, and cybersecurity, giving him a uniquely grounded view of money, markets, and human behavior, which is a lot of stuff we talk about here on the Let People Prosper Show. Rooted in Norse values of strength, self-reliance, and perseverance, Stewart brings a cultural and philosophical edge to Bitcoin education. He offers guests a choice at the end of each episode, $50 in cash or $50 in Bitcoin, because to him, this isn't just a podcast. It's a mission to help others reclaim control of their lives, their families, and their financial futures. So, with all this great stuff going on, Stewart, I'm really excited to have you on the show. I've been on your show recently. I'll put that in the show notes page as well. But let me go ask you the first question I do all the guests. Why do you do what you do every day?
Great question, Vance. I do it for my kids.
Yeah.
I do it for my kids. And you know, that was an excellent introduction to who I am and what I'm all about and my values and how I see the world. But an even better, faster way to talk about me is to say that I am a Bitcoin dad.
There you go.
Bitcoin dad. I am doing this thing every day, which is the hardest thing a Bitcoiner can do. Convince someone else that Bitcoin is worth looking at, right? I'm doing the hardest work in Bitcoin every single day for my kids. I want to not only teach them how to reverse some of what today's world has taught us, like gratification now is great. Scroll around endlessly on your phone. Work for a form of money that's getting worse over time, but don't ever think about it. Just keep going.
Yeah.
I want to set them up to be financially secure. I want them to be culturally aware. I want them to be, as they say in today, with my kids, there's like player characters and non-player characters, from video games. There's like PCs. I don't want them to be NPCs, Vance. I want them to be PCs. And so I want to set that foundation for them. But I also want to grow my own generational wealth. I want to be able to literally provide for them monetarily, financially, the same way I'm attempting to provide for them as a parent.
No, I love that, man. I love that so much. And I talk a lot about on this show, too, about we need to treat people like people and families like families and dads like dads. I mean, you've got so much going on. And how many kids do you have, Stewart?
I've got 2 kids.
Okay. Cool. I've got 3, and so that's a challenge all by itself, having multiple kids. But I wonder, like with your background, kind of your journey into Sat Chats today, if you had to start back and see where your career got you to where you're at today, where would you start? I mean, you're a pack strategist, you're a tech marketer, all these other things. But what kind of got you down this direction?
That's a really good question, Vance. I have studied so many different things over the course of my education and my career that, some people would look at my work and say, random scatterbrained individual.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, man.
Pick something, my guy.
Yeah.
Pick something. but I look at it as a collecting all of the gems in Thanos' gauntlet so that I could finally, bam, with a single skagoosh, right?
Yes.
And I had to study, the Renaissance, because that's literally what I studied at university along with foreign languages. I had to go into politics, marketing, sales, technology, cybersecurity to be able to get to a place where I could look at Bitcoin and say, okay, I've studied world-shattering breakthroughs in technology before, whether that is the Old Norse long ship, whether it is the Gutenberg printing press, whether it is gunpowder or penicillin. I have studied what makes people tick and what motivates them emotionally through politics and through, working to gain some kind of consensus and make a shift in the world. I've studied how to speak to other people using only my words, right? In marketing, the only thing I had was some words that I wrote down earlier that you are now reading on your own in order to inspire you. And getting into sales, I started working one-on-one with people, interviewing them, discovering their problems, helping them see there was a better way. So, you could view it as this kind of spidering out of interests or a braiding together of necessary parts to be able to say, you know what? Bitcoin is that world-shattering breakthrough. It's the biggest thing we've seen in 500 years or more.
Yeah.
And I need to use every resource at my disposal to help people see that.
Yeah. I love it, man. And so it's really a kind of a compounding effect of all these different things that you've done over time to get you to this place now where you're kind of at the pinnacle in some sense, where you can start to make these cases that's helping out your family and friends and your kids, but also others around you. And I love your passion too. Of course, the way you talk, I love that passion, but also your passion for helping others. Has that helping others always been a part of who you are, Stewart?
No. Not at all.
I thought I was going to catch you.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell you, I spent from age 0 to 17 growing up in a great family and exploring my different interests and having room to grow and become a good person.
Yeah.
And I spent ages 17 to 34 being an absolute piece of garbage.
Okay.
I mean, I was so selfish. I was so self-centered. I wanted things, and as soon as I got them, I didn't want them anymore. And I actually disdained the fact that I had them. I wasn't trying to give, Vance. I was demanding to receive.
I see. Yep.
Now, about 5 years ago, almost 6, I grew up.
Okay.
Finally.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, thank goodness, because it's been hard to do it on my own for all this time. I finally grew up and I started to realize that I needed a way to live my life. I needed like a Bushido code, for lack of a better term, because I was just floating out in the wild, grabbing whatever opportunity came my way. Like, I need to make conscious decisions. And one of them is to fight against my selfish, self-centered nature, Vance, by consistently attempting to be of service to other people. And so this podcast, where we are literally helping one person at a time adopt a superior form of money and even getting them started with their first little, coin in the piggy bank, is one of the ways that I am of service to other people today.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it. It's crazy in our lives that we have these wild journeys. I grew up in a single parent home and low income out of Houston, Texas, and started playing drums when I was 16, got in a hard rock band called Syndrome, and lived a crazy life for a while, to your point, and then got in a bad car accident, and that kind of changed my direction of where I was going, to where I got a PhD in economics and now doing this podcast, talking with you. Who knew that I would have been doing this like 20 years ago? But it is wild. I hear your story and how that translates to what you're doing today and where you're going in the future. And I'm sure that it's helped out in so many other areas of your life. And with this kind of Bitcoin direction of where you're going, where do you like to start your discussion and education to others about Bitcoin? Because there's so much to it, right? Like people have heard about it, they hear about the volatility and everything else. But where do you like to start with this, Stewart, on the story or the journey of Bitcoin?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you talked about how I am an Old Norse man. I can tell you that, there are many doors into Valhalla. And, some 800 men astride can go in, any of 8. I mean, there's like a bunch of ways to get in there.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is the same way. I mean, some people approach Bitcoin as an investment. Some people approach it as a safe investment. Some people approach it as a risky investment. Some people approach it as a gamble. Some people approach it as savings technology. Some people approach it as freedom technology. There's so many different ways to come at Bitcoin itself that I like to start each of my chats about sats focusing on what is important to my guest. When I have a guest who is a saver, we talk about how Bitcoin is the superior form of savings technology. When we have a guest who is an investor, we talk about the top performing investment for the past 16 years straight. Okay? Straight. 16 wins in a row.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about someone who comes on and says, look, I'm a dad and I'm working a regular job and I'm struggling to provide for my wife and for my kids. And I'm pretty certain that I'm going to work until I'm dead. I'm going to keep trading my body for a form of money that doesn't work. And when I retire, I'm going to get a part-time job. So I'm going to somehow retire into continuing working. Okay, sure. 2025. Appreciate you. Yeah. And then literally some of them have said, when I can't do that anymore, my uncle from Texas, he lives outside of Dallas and I was born in Austin. Yes. So I am a Texan. Yes. Shout out to all your Texas viewers. Okay.
Let's go.
I'm pretty certain Texas just passed some kind of law to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve or something.
Yes, they did. So
guess what? Now you literally cannot mess with Texas. Okay.
Yeah. What?
Anyways, when they say, hey, I'm going to go from a full-time job to a part-time job to handing out stickers at Walmart when you walk in until I just die.
Right.
When you walk in until I just die, we focus on the fact that you can continue to work your job. You can continue to earn at your levels. All you got to do is put a little bit into Bitcoin each week, each month, and over time, things will get better. I promise. The one thing that you can change as a Bitcoin dad is your money.
Yep. That's what you have control over. I love that. And you did bring up some good points there too, right? Like when we think about a currency or money, when I would teach economic courses, we would talk about medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. And I think especially with the store of value, you brought those key points up with Bitcoin. And then the blockchain and all of the stuff that's behind there is just, it's incredible. The sort of the direction that we're heading and how secure it is. And it's not secure in the sense that the government is coming in to secure it. It's through the market. It's through the blockchain and everything else that's going on. But one of the issues, I guess, some people have is like, well, can it really be a medium of exchange? Meaning that many sellers want to take Bitcoin for their transactions. What do you say to some of them who maybe are a little bit hesitant to go down that route with Bitcoin?
So that is a common roadblock in the heads of our guests.
Yeah.
They, almost all of them are very quickly able to either see or concede that Bitcoin is a store of value.
Yeah.
They can see it is a unit of account. Is it worth 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin? It's easy.
Right.
But many of them struggle with this idea of, well, I can't go buy my groceries with it. So there's a couple of ways that I handle this, Vance. Okay. The first one is the same way my kids handle it. They say this, so what?
Right.
So what?
Right.
If I am saving in a form of money that's buying me less groceries over time, but can be used to buy those groceries, why not save in a form of money that buys me more groceries over time? And when I'm ready, I'll just quick shift them into that money that buys me the groceries, and then I'll buy the groceries. And I'll be able to buy more groceries than I could have when I started.
Yeah.
So I don't care that I need to rinse in and rinse out because it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now that's the first level, Vance. The second level is that over time, Bitcoin will be a medium of exchange.
Yeah.
And in some areas, it already is. There are 6 figures worth of retailers worldwide who accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. And if you tell me that somewhere between 100,000 and 1 million businesses accept pine needles as money, I'd be like, dang, I guess pine needles are pretty okay. I have a ton in my yard. Let me go rake them up and buy some stuff with them. Right. So it is being accepted in many locations worldwide, not in as many locations as the US dollar, but in many locations. There are countries like El Salvador where it is legal tender. It's full on money. So don't tell me it's not a medium of exchange there. And in, for example, Texas, I know they just recently passed a law, and I believe the governor signed, for gold and silver to be legal tender starting in 2027. Let's go. Texas is pluralizing its currency options right now. How long before they make Bitcoin legal tender in Texas as well? So, and I guess very quickly, I'll mention the fact that there's something called the Lightning Network that rides on top of Bitcoin. So to break this down quickly and easily, Bitcoin is the money network that we have built for ourselves to capture our value and protect it from debasement. Okay. The Lightning Network is almost like a payment network that rides on top of the money network and allows you to exchange sats, which are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, way faster than the 10-minute blocks that Bitcoin is chugging away at. So it won't be long before you can tap to pay on the Lightning Network at Target, Walmart, Costco, H-E-B, you name it. So for those people who have a problem with the fact that it's not yet at the same level as the US dollar in terms of medium exchange, just go on ahead, buy some Bitcoin and hang in there, man. I promise it will work out for you.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a little time, right, to get things going. And I guess maybe take a little bit of a step back here, Stewart, is that what is the problem with the dollar? Because some people say, well, we got the dollar and that's fine. It's the world's reserve currency and everything else. But when you look at it, right, since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created, I think it's lost like 98% of its value, the dollar has, since then, because they've overprinted the dollars. It's backed by treasury debt. So it's a fiat currency system. And a lot of that didn't really get started or created until the 1930s during the Great Depression, whenever, the U.S. got off the gold standard, went on this fiat standard. So it's pretty new phenomenon at the end of the day. Even this fiat system that people think we must have is pretty new as far as history goes. And so we've seen the problems and the failures with the dollar and that it's only going to get worse. This is kind of my really concern about the dollar, is that it's going to get worse. We're running $2 trillion a year in deficits. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet is $6.7 trillion. And all this means that we're going to have more inflation and more distortions through our economy. And that's where I really see this competitive currencies, being Bitcoin in this case, as really taking hold in our economy to allow us to be more prosperous, have generational wealth, to your point. Is that kind of where your head is at as well? And what am I missing?
Well, your question here is, okay, Bitcoin sounds pretty good, but why is the dollar bad? And right there, part of what you shared is the fact that whatever you want to say about the US dollar, it is quite simply losing strength over time. And, we could get into the fact that it's backed by debt. It's backed by the world's superpower. But at the absolute end of the discussion is this clear fact that the dollar is not getting us as farther as it used to, right? It's not working. It's not working. So one thing that is wrong with the dollar is the fact that it is getting us less stuff over time. And I don't care who you are, it doesn't feel good to make more and more money and yet have less and less of it.
Yeah.
But also, and I could tell you the story of how, and maybe I will here. Do you want me to tell you a story, Vance?
Yes, please.
All right. Here comes some story time for everybody. Right. Everybody listening here.
Let's go.
On the Let People Prosper podcast.
That's right.
I that career we talked about.
Yeah.
The one that I went through that was, I feel like as a sales rep, I really formed that up nicely as the Thanos gauntlet. But there's some guy out there who can't be sold. He's like, dude, that's the junk drawer in your kitchen. Don't try to reframe it as anything else. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But even though I was moving through all of these different areas, somehow I was increasing my salary as an employee. And man, I got to tell you, every time I got a raise or a new job with an even more significant raise, I'd go back to my wife and say, love me, give me approval. I'm very good, aren't I? Do you want to give me the things I want to have? Yay! And, I was steadily working my way up. I think from 2010 to 2013, I was like in the low 5 figures.
Okay.
And then worked my way up into the mid 5s. And by 2019, I was in the high 5s. And around 2021, 2022, I broke into a 6-figure salary. I made it. I'm a 6-figure base salary sales rep with a commission upside of 2x on that. I'm about to hit it big. And I thought, 7th grade Stewart would have looked at, mid 30s Stewart and said, you're rich. You're rich. You've reached a level where you can get whatever you want. And I remember sitting down in front of my every dollar with my wife, we got that Dave Ramsey, we're going to give every dollar a purpose or whatever.
Yeah.
We got it up on the web browser. Here's our budget. It's tight. The budget was tight. And I remember going, what is happening? What is going on here? How can I be making more and more and we still can't even eat out this week because we blew it all on groceries? Where am I?
Yeah.
What universe am I in? So the dollar losing strength over time is a huge problem. And you said that, but I'll give you another reason why there's a problem here, Vance. We have no control. We have no control. You and I are working for a form of money that our nation state can print for free. It can give it to itself for free. That's not fair.
Yeah. That's
not fair. If I'm working, you need to work too. I could not run a $7 trillion deficit and still operate as a household. It doesn't work. And dislocating the dollar from anything real has allowed us to strap all of these financial instruments on top, to the side, below, this, re-engineer, subprime, debt, package it up, on whatever, to where it's such a maelstrom of nonsense that we are upside down, and it's time for a new form of money that is different.
Yes. Great points. I love the story. I think it's really important that purchasing power just continues to go down. I mean, to your point, you made all this extra money. I feel the same way. And now with my 3 kids and since 2020, I would say our budget per month just on food has doubled, probably more than doubled. And then, yes, we did have a kid in there, but also it's just from the inflation and everything else that it's around us has led to that. And it's also contributed to what I would consider to be excessive spending by the federal government. Because to your point, they can just print the money. Because how do you pay for the deficits that we're running $2 trillion a year? You either raise taxes, which is politically very difficult to do, and no one really would do that. You can also issue more debt, which we do, which pushes up interest rates, which interest rates are higher than they were a few years ago. Or you you inflate it away. You print more money. And this direct connection between all of these is all bad for Americans. And so that extra spending is not being hit as hard as it otherwise would be by raising taxes, right? Because they can inflate that money away. And so it's created a lot of other problems throughout our economy, which I would call malinvestments, kind of from the Austrian School of Economics, Lothar von Mises, is all this extra spending is distorting the economy. And some people are saying, well, you don't see it right away. Well, yeah, but it's in all the distortionary process through our production process in our economy. It makes it very difficult. So that's why I'm excited about Bitcoin. I'm for like a free banking system. You and I talked about this on your show here recently, where you can allow for private banks to issue their own currencies. But you can also have Bitcoin as part of that. And maybe even it becomes the dominant currency out of those because of the factors that you mentioned before. The other part I wanted to get at this, and I'd love to get your thoughts on any of that too, Stewart, but also we also have a fixed number of Bitcoin that's going to be that's going to be created over time, which is very different compared to our current fiat system. So what is that number? What's the most that it can be made? And what are your other insights there on some of the things I was mentioning there?
So the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin,
Yes.
Satoshi Nakamoto, who may be a guy, a girl, a time traveler, an alien, a group of people, artificially, we don't know. But Satoshi created a supply schedule for Bitcoin that would allow it to initially flood the marketplace when absolutely not a soul knew about it or cared, except for a handful of highly freedom-oriented, privacy-oriented, anti-government-oriented cypherpunks, were aware of it. And effectively cut its supply in half over time through a regular schedule so that as everyone caught on to it, it would be operating at a place that was sustainable and eventually drop until there was absolutely none being issued. And it's almost like if the dollar system, if the fiat currency system is the disease or the fever or the bacterial infection, then Bitcoin is that slow release penicillin that cures over time your ailment. So there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin in existence. It will take until the year 2138 for all of this Bitcoin to be issued through the work of computers that are called miners. Okay. And what that means is we are somewhere near 95% supply. In 16 years, we've issued 95% of the Bitcoin so that we can use it.
Yeah.
And we will hit 99% in 10 years. So I think November of 2035, we're in what Michael Saylor calls a gold rush for Bitcoin, which is, the race to 99%. And then it'll take over 100 years, Vance, for the remaining 1% to come out. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
In a world where you print maybe 40% of the total supply of dollars during the pandemic, it's going to take 100 years for 1% to come out. Holy smokes.
Wow.
It's a different kind of money. And what that means for everyone listening is that if they convert some of their money from fiat, from dollars into Bitcoin, then when they come back to that Bitcoin, they can count on it to still be there and to still be worth what it was, because there ain't no more of it coming out.
Right. Period. Exactly. Yeah. It's huge. And so you have that fixed supply. So then it's just based on the demand of what that level is going to be over time. And I think that is also concerned some people, Stewart, right? Is that you see a lot of volatility in the Bitcoin markets for a number of reasons. Right now, it's up pretty high, but sometimes it'll drop. But other investments do that all the time too. I don't understand why people are so concerned about this when they're not as concerned about other things, because in markets, you should have that volatility. One of the problems that I have, Stewart, with the Fed and a lot of the economists is that they believe that we should always have inflation, that deflation should be feared. And so there's always this movement of printing more money and increasing inflation, which means the value of our dollar keeps going down tremendously. Yet we wouldn't have that in the same. Well, let me put it this way. For Bitcoin, you can allow for the marketplace to work versus government to set what those prices are going to be, is the way I kind of see it. Is that how you see it a little bit too? Or
listen, man, claiming that a target of 2% for inflation is the way to run a healthy economy,
right,
is like humanity believing that maintaining a fever of 100% is a great way to live their lives. It does. No, you have a fever. Quit it. Knock that off and come back down to, the way things should be.
Yeah.
So I read an excellent book. I think it was earlier this year or maybe in 2024, Vance. And for some of your listeners who want to like really go deep on history, it's called 40 Centuries of Wage and Price Controls.
Wow. Yeah.
Which means 4,000 years. Okay. And the subtitle is How Not to Fight Inflation. 40 centuries of wage and price controls, how not to fight inflation.
Yeah.
For 4,000 years, governments have attempted to manipulate their marketplaces and the marketplaces of others in order to give themselves an edge, or maybe to give their citizens an edge, or maybe just to make their lives easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point the book makes by going through absolutely everything, Vance, I'm talking about all the way back to Hammurabi.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Being like, the price of one staff of wheat will be this. It's like, dude, you need to chill. What they prove is that this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't just inflate away your problems. You can't money supply away your problems. You need to knock it off and let that chaos, all this, it's like a Jenga tower that they're trying to continue building the top by pulling a block out of the bottom and putting it on top. No, you need more blocks, man, because it gets too wobbly. You have to basically knock that off and let it boil out of your system. Let the free market dictate what the price of things should be. And what the authors found, Vance, is that when these governments quit doing what they were doing, in the handful of cases where that actually, like, the people in power were able to do that, the problems boiled out of the market very quickly, and prices grew to their right size. Other prices shrank to their right size. But basically, it was like a natural balance was restored.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what's interesting about that is we're seeing some of that now over in Argentina with Javier Milei. He's cut the money supply. The poverty rates are down. Inflation is down. Maybe they need to find other currencies instead, and maybe they should be going toward Bitcoin. But there's been a lot of good that I've seen there by getting government out of the way. And we need more free markets in our currencies and throughout our entire economy, because too much government control is already happening. And, some people would even say, well, but yeah, why don't we go to a gold standard? Right? Or silver standard, or a bimetallic standard, or something like that. And I think that there are benefits to that compared to what we have with our fiat currency system, going to a commodity standard instead. But Stewart, the government can still control the amount of gold that's being mined. They can still control the productive capacities of what's underlying that gold, because, gold does have kind of the back behind it are productive parts of our economy that are contributing to the mining of gold, right? And that is what really gives it value, is it has all of that, which our treasury securities don't have. It's kind of back to what's going on in the economy, but really it's all about what the Treasury wants to issue because they're overspending from Congress. There's not productive activity backing each one of those Treasury securities. So you get some of that at gold, but I'm concerned that the government will get involved and then they'll control the prices of gold, which we've seen that off and on throughout history as well. But that doesn't happen as much or at all in Bitcoin. Hopefully that doesn't, because one of the issues I'm kind of worried about here, Stewart, is what happens if we have Bitcoin exchanges, we have this reserve amount of gold, Bitcoin here in Texas. There's some talk about this in DC of having strategic Bitcoin reserves. My concern about that is I like it in the sense that maybe it'll help bring forth the medium exchange faster, but it might get government more involved. Are you concerned about that at all? Or what do you think about that direction of some of the public policy going on across the country?
Okay, so your concern is that the federal and or state government getting involved with Bitcoin might create a problem.
Yes.
For Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Well, very quickly, just to step back to something else you said, I want to make sure that everyone understands that some money is money because it has the properties of money.
Yeah.
And it's not exclusively supply and demand. It's not exclusively people's perception that drives money. If you read Saifedean Ammous's book, The Bitcoin Standard, you'll see that good money has the characteristics of money. So gold, yes, has value because we're working hard for it. But gold is also money because it basically is indestructible. It doesn't really rust. It can be melted down and will cool back into the same amount that was there a moment ago. It can be split from a bar into different coins. Even with silver, you start to move away from that level of quality because silver can tarnish over time. And you definitely ain't going to convince me to make copper my money because that thing's everywhere.
No.
So, gold is good money not only for human reasons. Gold is also good money for gold reasons. And Bitcoin is not only good money for human reasons. Bitcoin is good money for Bitcoin reasons. But to answer your question...
That's a great point, though, by the way, Stuart. I really like that because I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. It's not just us projecting on. Some money has value for its own reasons, and that's part of the reason why I'm okay for the government to get involved with Bitcoin because it's great money and they should want some of it for themselves because people are realizing that the money the government is issuing ain't that great. So Bitcoin is for everyone, and I'm talking about everybody. Bitcoin is for spenders. Bitcoin is for savers. Bitcoin is for Americans. Bitcoin is for Argentinians. Bitcoin is for friends. Bitcoin is for enemies. Bitcoin is for dads.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is for moms.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is for everyone. So everyone is allowed to get involved and everyone has access 24/7, 365 to a value network that we have created and that we are supporting and that has rules it follows. It follows rules. So if the government wants to get involved with Bitcoin, it needs to do exactly what the rest of us are doing, which is it needs to work for Bitcoin and it needs to follow the rules of Bitcoin. I mean, can you imagine a world where a government and its citizens have to abide by the same rules?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what it should be.
Right?
That's what it should be.
I can't operate my family at an astonishing deficit.
No.
It doesn't work. Mm-mm. I'll go bankrupt. They'll send me to jail, whatever. The government, if it adopted a Bitcoin standard, would either have Bitcoin or not.
Yeah.
But it couldn't issue more. It couldn't string this out. It couldn't package that up. It's a yes or no question. And it brings that economic discussion down from this crazy maelstrom of Keynesian nonsense into a sound money, a hard money standard.
Nice.
So if the governments want to come on in because Bitcoin changed this dad. Bitcoin will change that government.
Yeah, love it, man. All right, as we're starting to wrap up now, and we talked about a lot, and there's a lot more that we could get into, but I with your work with this podcast, Sat Chats, which has been great, I'll make sure to put in the show notes page as well and everything else. What do you, Stewart, want to get out of this? I know you want to help your family and everything else, but if you're looking out in the future and you see where we're going to be with Bitcoin and everything else, what's the future that you see?
So, let me parrot that back to you.
Sure.
It's clear to you that I'm doing all this for my family.
Yeah.
But when I think about Bitcoin's impact on the world, what is that future that I'm seeing kind of writ large?
Right.
Oh man, I'm seeing a much better future than the one I was seeing before Bitcoin.
Okay.
Before Bitcoin, I thought that I would be on this rat race hamster wheel of death until I just keeled over and died at my desk like Catherine the Great.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like no amount of money I earned was ever going to help me get anywhere meaningful. And that my only choice was just to submit to this, longshore current, pulling me further and further into a place where I did not have that level of hope, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin, I can see that the time and the energy I spend adding value into this free market can be captured. It can be protected. It can be grown. It can be shared. It can be passed down, right? Through the generations to create generational wealth. And if everyone on this earth, 8 billion people in the service of 8 billion people, right?
Yeah.
Dividing the entirety of their productivity into only 21 million units, boy, shoo, I think that we could have a world where all of the nonsense that we have created over the past 100 years can boil out of the system and we can adopt a higher standard that lowers our time preference. We can learn to delay gratification again. We can learn to disconnect from the internet again. We can learn to focus on family time, our health, some kind of balance, for goodness sakes, some kind of balance, because our governments, and not just America, but really every nation state, is looking to borrow from the future of its citizens in order to please them today.
Yeah.
And that creates a vicious loop that we can't really get out of unless we go through some, it's like diet and exercise. Like nobody wants to do it, but you just gotta get through it, man. So I see a future where the world is on a Bitcoin standard. Yeah. And not only the world, Vance, but the moon is on a Bitcoin
nice.
standard. Mars is on a Bitcoin standard, okay?
Yeah.
The solar system is on a Bitcoin standard because, by the way, this stuff works in outer space.
There you go, man. I love it. And just real quick, what are your thoughts about the CBDC, like a central bank digital currency? Do you think that's a good idea or? Okay.
Oof, gross.
I agree.
Gross.
I agree.
Right? A centralization is not the name of the game, man.
No.
And
it's counter to the decentralization of Bitcoin, right?
Correct. Some things are worth centralizing.
Sure.
I love that my wife and kids and dog are in the same house as me. I would not like for us to be decentralized. But I don't want the money to be controlled by some guy who can press one button and go, print another $1 trillion every 100 days? That's nonsense.
Yeah.
I want the money to be decentralized and in the hands of each individual so that the government needs to come to us and say, excuse me, we would like to build a new bridge. Can we tax you accordingly? Okay, sure. Go ahead. Well, it's going to be 40%. No, never mind. We don't want that bridge. We'll just go the long way around. Yeah. I want the money to be decentralized so that it cannot be controlled.
Yeah.
And a central bank digital currency. It says central in the name.
Right.
I would hate to work for a central bank digital currency only to go to the movies and the central bank, as I attempt to buy 3 hot dogs instead of 2, would say, actually, your smartwatch has reported through your phone to us that you're a fatty.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so we're only going to authorize 2 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Because you can't have 3. Nah, man, I'm trying to pig out at the movies. My wife doesn't let me eat junk food very often anyways. And I'm always eating on the edge. The only food I eat is already going bad. That's my role as a dad. I just want to eat some freaking fresh hot dogs. And I don't want a central bank to be like, no, you can't buy that for these reasons.
Yeah.
I want to control my own wealth.
Amen. Amen. And we've seen that in China, right? They have these social credit scores. I mean, that would probably be the next thing. They could tie all this. Like, you can't get a loan. You can't do all this. Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, and again, if they create a social credit score in America and they go back in time, I'll never recover from age 17 to 34. I'll never get above 1 dang star. I don't care how much I am of service for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're 1 star, dude. You messed up. You messed up. Okay, you'll never get there. So I don't want any of that. I want a chance to be a man. I want a chance to kind of build a little castle around my family and protect them.
Yeah.
And to do that, I don't need dollars.
No.
I need Bitcoin.
There you go, man. I love it. I really appreciate the work that you're doing, Stewart, and getting this message out. And it's really a pleasure to have you on the program today. And I look forward to continuing our conversation. And God bless you and your family. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, I tell you what, thank you for having me. And I want to give your guests a little sample of what it's like to be on my show.
Okay.
So at the end of every one of my shows, and you can find us youtube.com/satchats, probably. Maybe just search for Satchats on YouTube.
There you go.
You'll find our channel. You want to click the subscribe because we are giving away sats in exchange for your subscription. And when we reach 10,000 subscribers, we will choose one from among you randomly and drop 2 million sats on your head. That is generational wealth, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
But while you're there, smashing the subscribe button, I'm going to show you guys what it's like to be on my show. So at the end of my show, and Vance has done this once before, he's about to do it again. We offer each of our guests their choice. Do you want dollars or do you want Bitcoin? And one of the best stories of my show is that we are mopping it up, Vance. We have had 97 guests on our show so far.
Yeah.
89 of them have chosen sats. They've chosen Bitcoin because it is superior to cash, period. So we offer them $50 or $50 worth of sats. Now, right now, Bitcoin is exchanging for $119,000, $360. There's 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin, the same way there's 100 pennies in every dollar. So right now, you can get 838 Satoshis for $1. I'm so happy to come on your show and to give me a platform to help every Bitcoin dad out there figure this out.
Yeah.
That I'm going to offer you your choice right now, Vance.
Okay.
$50 with one of my dad's favorite presidents on it, old Ulysses S. Grant. He didn't ever go backward. He never retreated. Or $50 worth of sats, which is 41,900 sats. Do you want this or this?
I want the sats. The Bitcoin.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Let's really go. High five myself, man. So 41,900 sats is,
Yeah.
It's Chick-fil-A money today. It's like $50 to take your wife and kid. You got 3 kids too, so you might even be $60. But that's lunch at Chick-fil-A money today. That's buy a franchise of Chick-fil-A tomorrow.
There you go. There you go. Love it, man. And I'll make sure to put this in the show notes page too, with the YouTube link and everything else. And everybody should go check it out. All the audience should go check it out. But Stewart, thank you for being on the program. And for the audience, thank y'all for listening today. Go and check this out. Go and check out Sat Chats on YouTube. Watch it. listen, learn more about Bitcoin. I think Stewart did a great job today of talking about what it is, starting off from the basics and moving up. There's a lot of things that are just misconceptions out there that we need to get away from and really understand what's going on. So be sure to share this episode with your friends and family, and be sure to subscribe. You can also find more information at vanceginn.com or go to my Substack newsletter at vanceginn.substack.com. And until next time, God bless you and let people prosper.